Morning, students. Today we are going to start with Unit 6, the Browning version, written by Terence Rattigan. Now, actually, the writer, Terence Rattigan, he has taken an excerpt, that is a passage, of Robert Browning's drama, Aeschylus' Tragedy. Agamemnon encowed the characters of his story after the play, so he had rightly given the title to his story, the Browning version. Now, actually, this author, that is Terence Rattigan, he has taken excerpt means a passage from Robert Browning's drama. That is why the name is the Browning version. Now here we have two characters. One is Frank and another is Crocker Harris. Frank is young and Crocker Harris is a middle-aged person. Okay. Now one of the characters here, John Taplow. He was a student of about 16 years age and he was studying in the lower fifth form of an English public school. He had come to the house of Master Andrew Crocker Harris for an end of term, for an extra work period in the hope of being promoted to the upper fifth class. At that time, Mr. Frank, the science teacher, was also there. Now, Frank asked if he was a scientist, and Teplov told him that he was a student who had come for extra work as he had missed a day of school the previous week due to illness. He had done so though it was the last day of school. He remained absent because of his illness, though it was the last day of his school. Now the young man was worried that the Crocker Harris was nicknamed by the students, would not give him his promotion, not give him his remove. Remove means his, would not give him his promotion to the upper fifth class. The other teachers would let the students know their results beforehand, but Mr. Crocker Harris, he would never break the rules. And so Taplov now was in the dark about his promotion. Mr. Frank told him that as he had come for extra work, he would surely get his promotion. And Taplov was not sure if the professor, that is Crocker Harris, would promote him. Taplov told Mr. Frank that if he was promoted, he would opt for science and not literature. And Mr. Frank sarcastically said that they always manage to get poor students in science. Means he told in a taunting way. Taplov protested and said that he was really interested in the subject. Mr. Frank also told him that he disliked this subject, that is science, that he was teaching. Taplov said that he found the study of the play, the Agamemnon, useless, and then when he was confronted by Mr. Frank, he said that the plot was good, but he didn't like the way it was taught in the class. We get all the slackers. Now, here slackers means what? Slackers means a person having a tendency to be lazy and is not interested at all in working hard. And it's a good deal more exciting than this muck. This muck is indicating the book and is using the word muck. Muck means useless. Is having no practical importance. That is muck. Okay. Now Frank, he was envious of Crocker Harris as all the students were afraid of him and obeyed him. And Taplov said that Mr. Crocker Harris was without feelings. He went on to relate an incident when the professor cracked a joke and no one except Taplov laughed. He immediately told Taplov that if he laughed, his Latin was improving and told him to explain the joke to the class. Taplov had laughed without understanding the joke. and was at the receiving end. Frank suggested that Crocker Harris could be a sadist. A sadist means a person who gets pleasure out of giving pain to other people. Is called a sadist. Now, Taplov said that there were some teachers who could be called sadist, but not Mr. Crocker Harris. He was absolutely feeling less. Crocker Harris was absolutely feeling less. A sadist would have negative feelings, but the master was without any feelings only. Taplov admits that although, like most students, he had his share of fun at Crocker Harris' expense, he does have sympathy for the professor. He did a wicked impersonation of Crocker Harris, like telling Mr. Frank that when he had asked for his marks, his master had told Taplov that he had given what he deserved, nothing more nor less. Now Frank suggested that since Crocker Harris was rather late and had not kept the promised time of 6:30, Taplov should go for playing golf. He again mimicked that professor on Frank's request, but then Millie Crocker Harris appeared at the door. Now Millie Crocker was the wife of professor and she was in her late 30s. She was smartly dressed and she had come unnoticed. Frank was the first to notice her and Taplov was afraid that she had overheard his imitation of her husband. Frank, he was the first person to notice that Millie Crocker was coming and Taplov was afraid because all this time he was imitating Crocker Harris. Frank thought that she had heard. Taplov was afraid that he would surely not get his promotion if Millie Crocker would complain about him to Harris Crocker. Now when Millie Crocker, she came to know that Taplov was waiting for her husband. She informed him that he was busy at the bursars, means a person who manages the finance of the college. He was busy at the bursars for a while and that he could go, and even if her husband came, then she would take the blame. But Taplov decided to wait. Millie then sent him on an errand to the pharmacy to get her some medicines mentioned in a prescription, which she handed over to him. Taplov agreed and then he leaves from that place. Now, here in the textbook, you are having one of the exercise that is working with words. Okay, that we'll just discuss. That is on page number 56. A sadist is a person who gets pleasure out of giving pain to others. Now, same way, given below are some dictionary definitions of certain kinds of persons. Find out the words that fit these descriptions. First one is a person who considers it very important that things should be correct or genuine. Example, in the use of language or in the arts. Now that person who is called a person who considers it's very important that things should be correct or genuine. That person is called a perfectionist. Who is called a perfectionist? Then next one, a person who believes that war and violence are wrong and will not fight in the war. That person is pacifist. 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 Then next one is a person who believes that nothing really exists. He is nihilist. 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 and a person who is always hopeful and expects the best in all things. That person is, it starts with O. Yes, it is optimist. 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 The next one, a person who follows generally accepted norms of behavior. He is conformist. 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 And the last, that is a person who believes that material possessions are all that matter in life. It starts with M. Yes, that person is materialist. 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 Okay, now children. Now here we have some textual question answers. One of the answers we'll just try to understand, so it becomes easy for you to get clear with the story also. We'll furthermore get clear with the story. The first question is, comment on the attitude shown by Teplov towards Crocker Harris. Means you can just tell about the attitude of Teplov towards Crocker Harris. Okay. Now, so in the beginning, first of all, you will write down that from which lesson this answer is taken. So you can write down that the lesson, that is the Browning version. It is written by, or it's an excerpt taken by Terence Rattigan from Robert Browning's book. Okay. So we can say that Terence Rattigan has in his story, the Browning version, described Crocker Harris as a traditional rules abiding teacher. And he was very strict and he was feared by the students. He gave Teplov, who was a student in the low 5th grade, extra work on the last day of school as a punishment for having missed a day the previous week due to illness. Now Teplov felt that the professor was without feelings and he was not ready to call the professor a sadist, because even a sadist would have some feeling, though negative, but the professor, he had none. Yes, he was feelingless. He also mimicked that the professor in front of Mr. Frank and then regretted that he had gone too far. He disliked the professor's unfeeling attitude. He disliked his way of behaving with the students, but yet he respected him a lot. So I hope the story is clear. It's a story about a boy named Teplov and Frank, who was a young person, and Mr. Crocker Harris, he was a professor, and Mr. Frank, he was jealous of his senior. Mr. Frank, he was junior professor, and Mr. Crocker Harris, he was a senior professor who was abiding towards his traditional rules. And Teplov, he wanted promotion in the next upper higher class, but Teplov means Crocker Harris, the professor, was not ready to do or to promote him, as he had missed his last day of the school, as he had not been, or he has not completed his work which was given by Crocker Harris on the last day of the school as a punishment. So here we end with this story. So we'll be meeting in the next session with a new lesson. Till then, goodbye.